During the month of April, we're focusing on child abuse prevention. The organization that has been there to help support Lowcountry children and families experiencing mistreatment and exploitation is the Dee Norton Child Advocacy Center. Well, here to share more on services and prevention is the organization's executive director, Beverly Hutchison. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
So every year you see the pinwheels are out, and that just reminds everybody about the joy, the purity of childhood, and how we need to preserve that.
Right.
So what is Dee Norton now trying to, the message that it's trying to get across?
Really, it's been in the month of April to particularly highlight prevention. Our mission is to prevent abuse, protect children, and heal families. And this month particularly, we're looking at how do we help our community be more protective so that abuse doesn't occur.
Mm-hmm. And I think can be a sensitive topic because a lot of people don't like to meddle, or for fear of maybe misnaming a situation. So I know it's incumbent upon all of us to see and to say something.
Right. But
when is it the right time?
We're talking to the community right now about just that. Making 3 points: speak up, communicate, and educate. And when we say speak up, it's to that point. If you see something, we encourage you to say something, to trust your gut if something feels wrong, and to remember that for any child, you might be the one protective adult in their life. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that it can be uncomfortable, but it is our job as adults to take care of children.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they say that it takes a village.
It does.
And it truly does, just because they're not your own flesh and blood, if they are a neighbor or
right.
a child's schoolmate or something, if you do see something, you could be that only adult.
Right.
And that also, that puts the responsibility on the shoulders of adults, but then also the people who are kind of in the public service. So
right.
teachers
right.
and people like that. So what's the advice for them and how to approach the subject and who to talk to?
So if you're looking at professionals who interact with our children, like you named with teachers, many of them are mandated reporters in our state, which means that they are required by law to report suspected abuse. They do not have to know it. They have to suspect it. And they have to go through the proper channels to make those reports. For people who are not mandated reporters, it's educating yourself. And we're encouraging people this month to go to our website, follow us on social media. We're going to be posting a lot of tips on protective factors that any adult can use in their lives to better protect children, and then what to do if there is a concern.
And do you go directly to law enforcement? Do you go directly to the people who then step in to intervene, or do you ever approach the family firsthand, start a conversation with them before taking it a step further?
So that's a challenging question.
Yeah.
The law stipulates that suspected abuse should be reported to social services or law enforcement, and in our community they are charged with that investigative process. So if you have a concern about a child, you can make a report to one of those agencies, and then their job, their role in our community is to follow up with an investigation.
Okay, and then with that investigation, so Dee Norton then steps in. How do we then bridge that gap? So it's been reported, and then what happens? What's the next step?
So that's one of the ways we partner with social services and law enforcement. They open an investigation, and during the course of that investigation, very often they will refer children to Dee Norton for that forensic interview, which is a non-leading fact-finding interview to help establish what did or did not happen. Part of that investigative process for them.
Okay, and do you interview the child as well as the family, extended family? How far do you go?
So we primarily focus on the child.
Okay.
And so the forensic interview will be conducted with the child, with one of our professionals who is trained in one of these non-leading interview techniques that is proven to best support the investigation, and it's the interviewer and the child. We do involve the family in every step of the way, but not with that particular service, the interview. We provide support. We do work with that family to make sure that they have all that they need, all that our community has to offer them to help support them in their role as a caregiver of a child who may be a victim of abuse.
Perfect. All right. Well, Beverly, thank you so much for coming back and sharing
Yeah.
with us. So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and for more information, you can always go to the Dee Norton Child Advocacy website for tips and other helpful information. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
We're back after this.